I'm a second year in the program, and I'm also the outreach chair along with Kara Pro. There's one person I definitely want to introduce right now is Dr. Melissa Holland. She's back here. She's our program coordinator and also one of our professors, and we'll get into that later. So I'm going to introduce the rest of my crew.
So, Kara Pro, I'm also second year.
My name is Magali Hernandez. I am a first year in the program, and next year I will be the conference chair, or conference co-chair.
I'm Carol Prasad. I'm also a first year, and I am one of the incoming co-presidents.
Thank you guys for coming. I'm really excited to see some of you guys back again for the second time. We've changed the presentation. We have a lot more info, so I really appreciate you guys coming out here today.
So, first of all, interested in being a school psych. So, are you interested in helping kids, promoting mental health, and working with educational stakeholders? Interested in career flexibility, to work in what you're passionate about and kind of molding your career for what you'd like it to be. And then, would you like a stable, well-paying, and in-demand career? So, if it's yes, 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 you're in the right place.
So, school psychology for you. This is a photo of our first years up here. This is our current third years and our current second years. So these are our cohorts. And something really great about our program is that we are a cohort model. So we go to all of our classes together in this little group. We study together in the library. We go to the student union and meet together. And you get to know your cohort really well. So I'm just wanted to introduce that.
And then, what is a school psychologist? So first and foremost, a school psychologist is a child advocate, looking out for the best interests of all children, advocating that all children can learn, regardless of any obstacles that may be in the way, and then advocating for the utilization of best practices and safety as a top priority as well.
A major role that we play as school psychologists, future school psychologists, are mental health professionals. There's an increase of funding recently in the schools for mental health funding, and so it's even more in demand. As a mental health professional, we do the social emotional assessment. We do group counseling and individual counseling. Part of the program, you'll actually begin individual counseling in the program your first year, and group counseling your second year of the program. Another thing, in the schools, you'll be doing professional development. That could be running different sessions for staff, that could be running the whole professional development day for your entire school staff, your paraeducators, and educating your school community about mental health issues. Another thing is just general staff, parent, and student education. We're working on educating the staff about mental health issues and how to work with children with special needs and mental health.
As part of the evaluation process for determining if a student continues to qualify or initially qualifies for special education services, school psych is responsible for conducting a psychoeducational assessment and cognitive evaluation. That's one of the main roles, and what makes us school psychs unique from other positions is that we're trained the ability to do this. And then we're also trained pretty extensively in the interpretation of data. And as an IPT member, we bring that knowledge of what does the data mean and how to explain what certain things mean to other team members in the IP.
A large part of what the school psychologist does in the role of the school is they act as an advisor, giving recommendations for what's best practices, being knowledgeable about what evidence-based research is out there, what empirically based research and everything is out there, and how to implement that into daily interventions for a child. So talking with a paraeducator on how to do the intervention with the child, or how to work with how a teacher can use their intervention in practice. Another thing is providing interpretation of special education eligibility criteria. As part of doing the psychoeducational assessments, you are helping to determine where the eligibility is for special education, which is determining what goals and what services the child needs based on the findings from your cognitive and specific processing assessments. You will then advise on interventions and accommodations and modifications for all students, and specifically students they're advising on various prevention measures and intervention measures that can be used for Tier 1, meaning the general population, special groups in the school, as well as individual plans, which would be like an individual education plan.
And then our cute little slide, or a little picture there. It's all fun and games until someone figures out the function of your behavior. And I guess it's still sexual, anyone's laughing at that. Yeah, part of the intervention is determining why students do behavior. So I just wanted to punchline, sorry. A leader in research, so there are national and state level professional school psychology organizations. For California, we have NAS, which is the National Association of School Psychologists, as well as CAS, which is California Association of School Psychology. And our faculty continually contribute to the educational research and use the conventions from CAS and NAS to present that research. So as a student at Sac State, you're able to support the faculty in doing that, and then you're also able to go to those conventions yourself and present your own research or your own ideas and things that you're coming across as you're doing your learning, which is really cool. We're doing this year, second years most of us are presenting at NAS, which is this year's in Orlando. And so we get to go there, and some are doing poster presentations, some are doing some workshops with some of the faculty. Also in your second year, you'll hold a position in our Sac State's School Psychology Association, which is we're outreach chairs. You've heard them mention the conference and co-president. Those are some of the roles. And we put on an annual conference every year here at Sac State for local professionals for continuing education and developing just up-to-date research and up-to-date information. And that's part of the ways that we raise money to go to NAS so that we can present there and be part of that.
The photos here, this is Dr. Melissa Holland and Dr. Steve Brock. He's our current NAS president nationwide. And so these are current grad students at the time doing presentations with them. So that's the celebratory photo. So this is kind of talking about what is the difference between a school counselor and a school psychologist. So you can see up here, the school psychologist role, they have 3 years of education in the program. So our program is 3 years for your EDS, which is the Education Specialist degree. The school counseling program is 2 years in graduate school. Both are trained in counseling, but our focus is more the psychology aspect in that part. And both do individual and group counseling. However, we also do the assessment piece, which is that psychoeducational piece of the assessment, and that's what you're doing in school. So that's how the IEP plan starts to get going. And both are employed in public schools and universities, but with a school psychologist versus a school counselor, there's the opportunity for private practice.
I don't know if I could interrupt.
Yeah.
So basically, to a certain point, it's kind of having the school counselor part, but even adding more to it, right? As a school psychologist?
Yes. Okay. That's a good way to
Just
One of the hats is school psychologist wears is a school counselor.
Okay. Yeah. You get more for yeah.
And it can vary site to site, so that's also something.
Just out of curiosity, because I never do this, how are school psychologists employed, like at a university? Is it the same as it, like being a high school or anything? Or like the actual faculty?
Yeah, so we have a number of school psychologists that are adjunct professors, and they are both practicing in the field. So they're working a 9 to 5 regular job, and then they come and take time out of their lives and they come and teach different courses. So a number of our adjunct professors also went through the program, and so after a few years in the field, they come back and they'll either do guest lectures or they'll be teaching a whole class for a semester. And they also supervise, some of them supervise the diagnostic assessment and the GATE assessment, which is that psychoeducational piece. And so it really gives a great opportunity because you're getting the specialization from professors like Dr. Melissa Holland and Dr. Brock, but you're also getting people who are out there 9 to 5, so they have that real world experience too every day. So when they come to your class, they have stories about what happened today and practical applications as well.
And then looking at the difference between a school psychologist and a clinical psychologist, Both school psychologists and clinical psychologists are trained in counseling and mental health. However, school psychologists focuses more on how the emotional issues, the family problems, the neurological factors, and maybe mental illness are affecting the learning aspect of a child's life. Typically, the clinical psychologists are not trained in education, instruction, or classroom management, and they usually work in either private practice, hospitals, mental health clinics, or also the university setting. So there's a little bit difference where the focus for a school psychologist is more on the impact on the education.
So again, where do school psychologists work? As you can see, there's many options. Most school psychologists work in schools, and that can be both private school and public school, but the majority is in the public school. And that's from preschool, elementary, junior high, high school. There's also opportunities as a school psychologist to work in a college, like a junior college, or university for your college. A number can open private practice, and that would be doing private psychoeducational assessments. That can also be doing counseling once you get the appropriate licensing. You can also do private practice counseling. Community mental health centers, we have some that work in different nonprofit kind of organizations, institutional and residential facilities. That can be anything from a group home, different treatment centers, pediatric clinics and hospitals. The criminal justice system, we have a couple students that are also kind of doing part-time work already there, and so they'll probably go into working in the criminal justice system. And public agencies such as the State Department, and being in Sacramento, that's very applicable here.
And then the majority of school psychologists are Caucasian women who work in public schools. Currently, almost 18% are over the age of 60, which favors our job outlook in the next few years. And then other settings, and she mentioned private schools, faith-based schools. So pretty much anywhere you're going to find a child who's getting an education, you can find a school psychologist.
So the ethnicity of school psychologists, again, it's heavily Caucasian, but there's been an increase since the last time we did this presentation in different ethnic groups. So that's kind of information that we see.
And then the job outlook. So as I just mentioned earlier, that our outlook is favorable, but it's also really great right now. So local school districts are continually looking for school psychologists, and there's not enough graduates to fill the demands that they have, so there's a lot of open positions even midway through the school year. In 2011, the U.S. News and World Report named school psychology as one of the top 50 best careers. And according to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, the employment of psychologists in general is supposed to grow about 12% in the next 10 years from 2012. And they listed school psychology as being one of the main contributors to that. So the outlook for, if you're looking at starting a career in school psychology, you're starting at the right time. There's not enough out there.
So this is just some general salary information. Median salary is $67,000 and the mean is $72,000. The NASP, the National Association of School Psychologists, they do a lot of different surveys. And so you can see kind of what the usual school psychologist is doing. The practitioner, that's talking about the school psychologist in the school, and so that's the school year, so that's why it's the 200-day contract. So you get summers off, you get winter break off, and it's just like being in school right now, except you're going to pay for it. So. And again, it can vary by district, it varies by state, it varies by region.
Looking at the variation, so it ranges anywhere between 170 days to over 200 days, and again, that's going to depend on your district and where, and their calendar. And on average, they make about $356 a day, and then the more days you work, obviously, the higher your wage would be.
Okay, so we created a movie, and we're going to talk more about the school psychology graduate program here at Sac State. So, really, people hit play together.
You must have been a beautiful baby. Ah, you must have been a beautiful child. Oh, you started to go to kindergarten. yeah, I believe in a kangaroo rhythm. I bet you couples of the kids hop. Well, I can see the judge's eyes when they handed you the pie. You had the cutest smile. Well, you must have been a...
She's saying how much she loves them. And it's so fun. As you can see, these are test kits. That's what we use. Rachel.
Sorry, trial runs. Yeah. Should have worked with kids before.
You know, you must.
Should I fast forward?
Yes. They're going to get dizzy.
I don't know what she's saying. Students there?
Rachel, and I'm a current school psych grad student. My favorite thing about our program is our cohort. We all come from different backgrounds and experiences and bring something different to the table. And we have a lot of fun together. We have every class together, so we spend a lot of time together.
Hi, I'm Jesse. I'm a current grad student in the school psychology program. And one of the things I like about this program is how knowledgeable and helpful my professors are.
Hi, my name is Amanda. I'm the current School Psychology Association co-president. I love the School Psychology program because it allows us to work with kids in the schools and do counseling and write diagnostic reports, which is all stuff you're actually going to do in the field, so it's really great.
Hi, my name is Hernandez. I'm a first-year student, and something I really like about the program thus far is my cohort. Of course, we're all get along great, and the classes are awesome. And I really like that we get experience from the get-go. We go observe, shadow.
Alright, hi, my name is Chelsea Mara. I'm a second year in the School Psychology graduate program. What I really like about the program is my cohort. They've been great friends, and they're very knowledgeable. They've helped carry me throughout the program.
It's Mike. I'm in the School Psychology program at Sac State, and one thing I like about it is the small class size, and you get to know all your classmates really well.
So we have some other current grad students, and I wanted to just pick on them. They've raised their hand if they just share a couple things that they've enjoyed about the program or something that they're learning about. Anyone? Takers? Kelly Regan.
Hi, I'm Kelly Regan. I'm a second year student. One of the reasons I chose this program over the others I applied to was because of the clinic that we have on campus, which is where we get to practice doing all the assessments and tests that we need to know how to do in a very structured and scaffolded way with our professors right there. None of the other programs I looked at had anything equivalent, and it's been a very safe but also useful and informative way to learn how to give assessments.
Okay, I'm Sarah. I'm a first year. I'll be an incoming co-president with Carmel. One of my favorite things is the mentor program that they set you up with here. So coming in as a first year, they match you with a second year student, and they give you this questionnaire, and they try and match you based on your characteristics, what you're interested in. Like, I'm interested in early childhood, so that's what my mentor is interested in. But they're just always there to answer questions and give advice and send you study guides and just be really helpful. So the mentor part is what I've really enjoyed so far.
The other takers?
And the common theme in there was our cohort, and that's it's a really nice way to learn because it's a huge support system. And it's a pretty intense program, and it's for 3 years, so you're with the same. There's 14 of us in our second year, and you really do develop those bonds, and that's going to continue when we're out in the field too. To know that we have those people to call on if we have questions. We're out there practicing our own. We need that support, and we have those people that we've known for years now. And I see them more than I see my family. And so really that's a really unique learning experience, especially for me.
Oh, yes. So it's a NASP approved. It's so NASP approved. We have a NASP president serving right now. In 3 years, you get your 6 full-time professors. You get your master's in education and your education specialist degree in school psychology, plus your pupil personnel services credential. That allows you to practice in schools. An option you can do is take 2 additional courses, and you talk about that with your professors and your advisors once you decide to do that. And that's for the LPCC, which is the Licensed Professional Clinical Counselor. That allows you, once you get that license with the extra hours and 2 extra courses, you're able to practice private practice counseling. So that's kind of any kind of counseling once you get the approved hours and pass the exams. And of course, it has an excellent reputation.
And then our faculty. So we mentioned Dr. Melissa Holland and Dr. Stephen Brock, our 2 full-time current faculty. And then we have a variety of adjunct faculty that I mentioned earlier too, who really have the continuing on the job, bringing that experience to the classroom, which is a really great learning opportunity as well.
Okay, so as far as what the first year will look like, we can talk about the first semester this far. You can take courses in group and individual counseling, psychoeducational assessment. We have ES 245 is like sort of the intro to schools, psychology in schools, and for that class we actually have a group project that is building a hot sheet. So that's something that will be beneficial later on because you'll do the presentation and you'll pick a topic such as like bullying or substance abuse in schools and learn about that, and that's something that you'll keep with you. And for that class, we also have to shadow school psychologists, and you go in and do observations for IEP meetings and SSTs and different school observations. So that's what I really like about that class. And then as far as we have a human development and learning class, and in that class we have a project which is the human development questionnaire, which is also beneficial because you're able to see like what sort of questions you're going to be asking parents, for example, when you come across them or you could be have concerns about their students. So those are 2 classes.
And then in your first semester, you also get a couple of counseling classes. We have multicultural counseling, which just kind of gets you in the mindset of working with a very diverse population. It's really cool. We had a lot of guest speakers this past semester and learned a lot. Also, we have group process, which is actually with Dr. Holland, and we do observations of group. We go out into the community, follow a group leader, and watch them actually lead a group, and towards the end, some of us actually got to run groups already, so like one day, part of it, but it was really cool. It was a lot of fun. I felt pretty cool about it. Also, in that group, in the group process, we get to develop a group curriculum, which is kind of an 8-session, full-out plan of what you would do with the group, so you're already kind of thinking of how you would run a group while you're in schools. And as part of EDS 245, we start building our portfolio already. So your health developmental questionnaire, your group curriculum, your hot sheet, that all goes into a portfolio that you're going to be able to use in the future while you're applying for jobs, and that starts with your first semester, so it's pretty cool.
And a lot of stuff that happens during the first semester leads to NAS presentations, leads to EDS projects. It all kind of starts incorporating things that you're going to use later on in both your career and as contributing to research and stuff like that. So it's kind of, you're starting your knowledge, but you're also kind of developing your ideas of where you want to go and developing your passions and what you really, your interests and what they are. And it's kind of, you start off running, you're ready to go. It's not like, oh, it kind of ease it, we're going now, which is pretty cool. So then during the second year, there becomes more of a focus on that psychoeducational piece. During their second semester, they'll be doing gait testing to kind of start learning some of those cognitive measures that we'll be using. Then really second year, you start looking at struggling learners and why parents bring their students into the clinic and helping them to figure out what's going on with their student. Why is the student not learning as is expected? We do a lot more with academic interventions. We start field work our second year, so right now all of us are in a public school in a surrounding district at least 1 day a week. I know I'm doing 2 days, and a couple of people are doing 2 days a week as well. So we're in there with the supervisor. We're doing collaborating with teachers. We're doing observations. We're looking at interventions and their effectiveness for student learning, doing some behavioral support, developing plans, stuff like that. And so a lot of our costs correspond to the things that we're doing at our sites currently.
One of the great things about the assignments given during the program is that they are practical and they will be used regularly in the schools when you get out into your own practice. The professors overall do a great job of giving you texts and different books that you'll actually be using in the field. So in Dr. Holland's class, she recommends different books in her group counseling class that I'm using now in my second year as I run group curriculum. When you write your own group curriculum, you actually will be using that in the field right away within months and weeks. And another thing that once there's a number of school psychologists that are aware of the different group curriculums, for example. And so when they're out in their job practice and they need a group curriculum, oftentimes they'll stop over an office and say hi to some old professors that they used to know and then pick up some materials to use in the field. So what you're doing is being used by yourself and others pretty quick, which is really a good aspect.
I think Kelly mentioned it, our clinic. So it's the Center for Counseling and Diagnostic Services. And that's unique to Sac State. And that's something, I know there's some online school psychology programs and there's other programs in the area where they learn their tests, and the way that they practice that to get ready to assess kids in the schools is to assess other adults, other classmates. And we actually bring in real kids and we do real assessments. We have a two-way mirror, so our supervisor's on the other side watching us, giving us feedback. And so we have real world experience in giving these measures, and we don't do it for the first time when you're a school psych in your internship year. So we're ready to go. By the time we're done, we're going to have, I think, like 15 under our belt of doing these assessments. We have 10, I think, during our second year, and then we have some GATES evaluations as well. So there's a lot of hands-on, real experience that you don't get anywhere else except for Sac State. So it's a really cool feature of our program. And then next semester, at the end of our fourth semester, we graduate with our master's already. So it's kind of exciting. And I'm excited.
Graduation ceremony. I love it.
Okay, and then during our third year, so the first 2 years are full-time coursework. You're fully enrolled, 15 plus units a semester. And then the third year, our coursework is done pretty much, and you're in the schools doing a 1,200-hour internship. Still being supported by the university. We still meet every other week to do a seminar to talk about what's going on and kind of continue our learning. You're also working on your thesis or your project for your EDS degree. For the master's, most people take the exam for the master's, but if you're going for the EDS, it's either a thesis or a project. And then at the end of that 6th semester, you graduate with your EDS degree, which is Educational Specialist in School Psychology. And then you get your People Personnel Services credential, which authorizes you to start practicing.
So I just wanted to share some photos. One of the great things we do in the program right off the bat is the ropes course here on campus, and so we use that kind of as a way to see how group work and group therapy kind of things are done in other settings, as well as just bond together and get ready for 3 years together. There's some other photos. See, they're hugging.
We really do like each other.
So these are the admission requirements. These are available online, but right now it's required to have a bachelor's degree. The minimum GPA is 3.0 grade point average from your undergrad. You can discuss this upon admission with the admissions folk, and that's a later discussion. You need to provide evidence of either registration or passing the CBEST. And this is the last year coming up that they will not require the GRE. However, the next year that would be a requirement, and it's highly recommended that you do the GRE and kind of get that going. Melissa, do you have
Yeah, with regard to the GPA, we do recommend 3.0 or higher, but as Jordan discussed, if you're a strong candidate in many other ways. GPA is one piece of the puzzle. There are other pieces of the puzzle that we look at as well, and we take all of that into account through the application process.
Are you looking at cumulative and SAC state, or just cumulative?
We look at cumulative, we look at SAC state, and then we also look just at the courses.
Okay.
I know some folks, when they start off as freshmen, just sometimes have a harder year that year, and we take that into account as well. And really what we're looking to see is an overall track record or understanding of how you perform academically. And we understand that sometimes things happen some semesters, and if there's something that is significant that would change your GPA perhaps one semester, then perhaps that's something that you may want to consider discussing in your personal statement that you submit to us.
Can you go on? I'm not understanding that part that says from the 3 sections of a general test taken within 5 years of applying to the EDS program.
Within 5 years, you need to have had taken the GRE. That's what we'll look at those scores. No, as you're applying.
Okay.
Yeah, if you've taken it within the last 5 years, we'd like to see those scores. But again, this year it's something that we'll look at. It's another piece of the puzzle. For the year after that, we're looking at moving toward making that a requirement for admission, but that won't be the case this time around. It's encouraged, but not required.
These are the prerequisite requirements. Again, these are available online on the website. And these are the courses. I know oftentimes there's questions of what prereqs count, what doesn't, how do you do that? My recommendation, our recommendation to you would be to create a little graph, find out what the prereq description is for each course according to SAC state, lay that out, and then show proof of how you've taken or met that requirement, whether that be a course that's similar. Sometimes they change the name of the course or they change the course number. It's not about the number, but the content matter rather. And so my recommendation is to have that complete and show how you've met those requirements. And then you can also put, if you feel your job experience is sufficient, you could also venture out and put that on there. But the more that you can show that you've met the content recommended in the prerequisites, that's helpful, instead of emailing, if this course counts or if this course counts. So the more organized you can be, the more helpful it is, I think, and include that in your application.
And you notice we're taking pictures. If we have your email address, we can send you the PowerPoint so you have this information, if that's helpful.
I noticed that you have drugs and behavior as one of the prereqs, so that's like 117 here at Psych State. And on the application for the prereqs, Psych 117 isn't listed. Is there
On the application, I would need to take a look at the actual application. There still should be a drugs and behavior course, though, on the application. Do you have the supplemental or the overall application there? The general. You know what? Let me take a look at that after. These are the most up-to-date prereqs that we have, so let me take a look at after we're done here, and I'll check to see what application we have there. But those are the prereqs that we're requiring for this.
We have like 3 more slides we can get through, and then we'll come back to questions. Awesome. So applications for fall 2015 are due by February 1st, which is a Sunday. And I believe the deadline is Monday, since it falls on a Sunday. Is that correct, Dr. Holland? The supplemental deadline's extended, right?
The supplemental deadline to February 2nd. Sunday.
So the general one you can submit online, so make sure you do that by the 1st, and the supplemental's due by that Monday.
What's the difference between the 2?
There's 2 applications. So one's to the graduate department at Sac State, and one's to the school psychology program. You can submit your supplemental to Eureka Hall 401, that's the College of Education on the 4th floor of this building. And then the online application, the university application's online.
one website to check out is the National Association of School Psychologists.
So I thought, again, I like the cartoons. So I put years of study and sweat and tears in this. So yes, I'm going to put NCSP after everything on my name, which is the Nationally Certified School Psychologist. So it's just, when you take some of the coursework and some of the exams, if you score so high, then you get this NCSP. So you notice when you get email stuff from school psychs and schools, they'll say like LEP, NSP, you know, EDS degree. So yes, I'm going to do it because I worked hard for it. Yes.
So this is a great career opportunity just in general. I'm going to pass these out. It has my email address. I'm not going to say it right now because you're telling me. I'm going to ask Kelly Regan. She's our conference chair this year. She would just speak a little bit about this. This is a great opportunity. I'm going to pass more about that.
Okay, so we do a school psychology conference. The School Psychology Association does every year. This year it's going to be in January. It's not technically this year, but the school year. It'll be January 16th and 23rd, 2 consecutive Fridays. It's a professional development conference for practitioners, and it's also an opportunity for us to make sure we are putting the program in front of local practitioners and giving some of our alumni and our professors an opportunity to present their most recent work. This year we will have presentations on emotional disturbances and how that looks in schools and the legalities of identifying children for special education with emotional disturbances. And then we are going to have a half-day session on mindfulness with Dr. Holland and how to use mindfulness in schools and counseling. And then we are going to have a variety of afternoon workshops on topics such as supporting children during divorce, bipolar disorder in developing children, counseling, PBIS, thank you, I should know these. Revisions to the WISC, which is a big cognitive test lots of people use. We're hoping to have about 150 people attending, so we're hoping to offer some mingling opportunities. We're offering a networking luncheon this year, which hasn't been tried before, but we want to give all our practitioners, alumni, a chance to catch up. And if any of you would like to come as students, some of it might be interesting to you, some of it might be a little bit hard to apply right now, but you would definitely see the applications later as you go further in the program, and we'd be happy to have you. And of course, we have special student rates. And is there anything else you want me to say about that?
Thank you. The flyer I just passed out, I attached I wrote my email address there. So if you do have questions, you may contact me with questions. I'll do my best to answer them. If you have questions about the conference, below on the bottom are email addresses for our 2 conference chairs. If you have conference questions, best to direct it toward them. And that would be Kelly and Beth, she's not here tonight. But if you do have questions, I will do my best to answer them or point you in the right direction if you do need contact. So that's available to you guys up there. And then because we follow best practices,
appropriately.
Yeah. So any questions?
I know that we can get a letter for the one class for tutoring. What does that have to entail from the teacher that we work with?
What was the, I'm sorry, what was the question?
That in the tutoring class that we can get waived.
Yeah, through experience.
Through experience, yes. The letter, what does it have to entail from the teacher? Like, you want to have them say something specific?
Well, there's 2 different letters we're looking for. We're looking for 3 letters of recommendation.
Yes.
So those are separate from that. But then we're also looking for any form of documented experience that you have as a tutor that could waive that particular requirement. So just looking for the hours or the breadth or depth of your experience in tutoring children.
Can we use our letter of reference be the same person that's writing?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
My question for you guys on that, so with substitute teaching, if I were doing that for 3 years, that would cover that?
Yep, you would just go ahead on your application and refer to the experience that you have, and then we would make a determination at that time whether or not that prerequisite could be met through that experience or through whatever coursework you have. Keep in mind as well, you don't need all your prereqs done before you apply. Some folks even start the program without all of their prereqs done. We do recommend that you get as many of those out of the way as you possibly can so that you don't have to take those courses in addition to the other coursework that you may have. But you know, we'll definitely work with you. And the more, again, this is another piece of the puzzle if we're talking about that. And so having as many of your prereqs done as possible upon your application might be another piece that we look at, but by no means do we have an expectation that you would necessarily have all of those completed. You can also complete those over the summer, let's say at a community college or elsewhere, as long as the content matches what we're looking for.
There's some online coursework too. I know I had
Sure.
2 that I had to complete.
Yeah.
I did that my first semester, and I used online courses that were fairly inexpensive and kind of self-paced. So I got through them. I sat down for a week and just got through all the material. So there's different ways to get it. You don't have to do it at a JC or university.
Yep.
Yes.
So I was going to ask a previous question also, because I'm currently a psych major and I want to graduate with my bachelor's in psychology. So I was wondering how many would, because I'm already fulfilling some of the psychology courses, but I was just wondering how many prereqs is there a certain number that we should have completed if we don't have all of them done?
No, and I'm sure actually as a psych major you probably have many of the prereq requirements that we have, and those that we don't, again, we'll work with you to talk about finding opportunities in order to fulfill those.
Yeah, so each semester as you're taking the courses, how many courses is it? Is it 4?
It varies. So I think our first semester we had 5. Right now we have 5 again, but one's a field work and one's our diagnostics, so they're not exactly coursework, but it's experiences.
I'm coming from a quarter system, so it's like the units are a little different in what classes and how time is it. So I'm wondering, like, do you guys have part-time jobs on the side, or does this take up all of your time?
So the program recommends that working is really difficult. Your first year you could probably get by with part-time work. Really the second year, I think most of us are here 50 hours a week, and in the clinic learning the test, in the library studying. It's a big demand.
But
So
it's fun.
Right.
Yeah. Let me do it if I enjoy it. But yeah, it's really, I think Serge worked his first year and he isn't working currently.
Midway through the semester, I have to.
If you absolutely have to, it's manageable. Like, I work 20 hours right now as a second-year student. I don't recommend it. And I will probably be quitting for next semester just because of the master's and the praxis exam on top of the coursework. So I will say that it is manageable as long as you're not going overboard and your job's not very demanding and you have some downtime, but I definitely don't recommend it.
And it's hard too, because a lot of our courses, we have courses in the morning, courses in the afternoon, courses in the evening, and because we're cohorts, there's one course. There's no flexibility. You don't get to pick, I want that day and that time. There's some flexibility with diagnostic because you only have 5 in your diagnostic group. But really, the course is what it is, and you can go part-time in the program, and that's going to extend it past that 3-year mark. So really, it's ideal if you can do full-time. So it'd have to be really flexible part-time job.
Yes.
Is there a way to take less courses over a longer period of time if you do work full-time?
Part-time can be an option, and that would have no bearing on your admittance into our programs, so that can be an option. I would say, however, it depends on the job. If, for example, you're a full-time teacher, I still think it would be very challenging to be able to complete our program and still be a full-time teacher, because many of our experience our applied experiences need to happen within the school day. So for example, field work, all of our assessment courses, the clinical psychology practicum, and some of your coursework is during the actual work day. However, again, part-time is an option, which some of our students do choose. And you're still going to run into that problem, though, if you, depending on what type of job you have.
Can you kind of go over one more time sort of this transition? So after your second year, you're done with your coursework, so you're not taking regular classes anymore, and then you go to your internship. So
at the
you
end
graduate after the
So
years?
end of the fourth semester, you graduate with your master's. If you're full-time, after the fourth semester, you get your master's degree. Starting the fifth semester, you start your full-time internship, and along with that, you have your thesis or project, or your EDS, if you're getting your EDS degree as well. And then you have a seminar, your internship seminar. You're enrolled full-time, between 15 and 18 units, I believe it is, because your internship counts as, so you're still enrolled in the university full-time. But you're meeting every other week, usually in the evenings because you're doing it full-time. You're in the field, you're doing normal 40-hour school cycle week. So it's not, and the bulk of your learning is over, really, it's just,
you're applying it now.
You're applying it, your faculty's there to support you, hey, I have this issue, I don't know what to do. So if there's like some continuing education as far as different topics. Like right now we have our fieldwork and seminar, we talk about, like yesterday we talked about mental health. So there's different topics that are covered throughout it. The bulk of your coursework is completed in the first 4 semesters.
The last year is just getting the qualifications for action programs.
And you can get a paid internship, so you get to make money that year too.
Yeah, our students get paid internships, and right now we have 100% job placement for our students after internship. Our students are very sought out. We have a very good reputation. We're known within the community, and so if you get through our program and you leave with your credential, you will, at least at this point, all of our students have been placed in good jobs after.
And even throughout the state, Sac State's pretty well known for their school psychology program. Did you have a comment?
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to add on to what Melissa was saying. In planning a conference, I made a phone call to a district in El Dorado County a few weeks ago, trying to get contact information for them. And the director of special ed offered me a job on the phone. Explained to her, I'm a second-year student, I'm not actually practicing school psychologist yet. And she said, well, do you want an internship? You can work as an internship, and we can get somebody to supervise you. There's definitely plenty of availability out there.
There are more jobs and internships right now than we could ever possibly fill. You will have a selection.
And I think Sac State has such a great reputation because of the experiences that they offer. I mean, we get, I'm going to say so much more, but the experiences we get really prepare us to go into the job. We don't necessarily need, still need supervision, but you kind of go out there knowing what you're supposed to do and how to do it because of our experiences. You had a question?
Sorry, back to prerequisites for a second. I just had a quick question in regards to the graduate writing assessment requirement. Is that met by a college level English composition course, or is that something that?
It's actually met by a course that you'll be taking in your first year, EDS 250, and so you don't need to worry about that.
Yes, go ahead.
I was just wondering if you could explain a little more what the EDS means, because and maybe I'm wrong, but there are other school psychology programs that don't offer that, right?
So it's an additional degree, so it's a degree above the master's. It's actually the highest, it's the highest level degree Sac State offers. So Sac State doesn't offer PhD degrees, so it's a degree above the master's. And so it requires a thesis or a project as well, and it just gives you kind of that added, marketability when you're out there looking for a job. It's more experience, and it looks good after reading. So it stands for Educational Specialist, and it's commensurate with like an EDD, an educational doctor. And all that clarifies it.
So one way it's also practical is some districts, they recognize, they go through the pay scale by units you've completed. So when you've completed your master's, you have around 60 units completed. When you finish your EDS, you'll have about 90 units completed. So that translates long-term for you when you are hired, with your 100% job hire rate. You're higher up on the pay scale in some districts so that you have that extra units, that extra year of experience.
Dr. Holland, actually.
So coming in, you will apply for the EDS degree. However, if you get into that third year and you make a choice that you would like to continue and get your PPS credential, which is required in order for you to be a practicing school psychologist, and your master's degree, we do have some students that then opt at that point to not continue with the EDS, and essentially what that means is you don't do a thesis or thesis project.
There's not so much any more required coursework. It's that culminating.
There is one required course that you take with me, and it's your thesis lit review writing course. And so in actually a class, you would write your lit review with my advisement, and after that, then you would complete your project. And I would say maybe 20% of our students do traditional theses, probably 80% do projects, and the project it's pretty wide open, actually, what you do, but we want it to be applicable to the field and something perhaps that you would even take with you into your next job position or what have you. Maybe it's an in-service that you've completed that you could give, or a manual of some sort that looks at something in the field that probably perhaps hasn't been addressed in that way before.
You also can work in partners. So I think
Yes.
Sheila and I are the only two doing a thesis, I believe, in our year.
Okay.
So. So you do have support of somebody else to complete that requirement.
So I was just wondering if like a couple of you would volunteer to kind of give a background on like your undergrad and sort of what molded you into wanting to be a psychologist.
Okay, yeah. I did my undergrad at UC Davis. Actually graduated in 2010. I thought I wanted to be a pediatrician when I started, and I absolutely hated it halfway. And I got into psychology and absolutely loved it. I also always really liked education. So when I graduated, I did not want to start a grad school program, and halfway through decided I hated it like I did with pre-med. And actually some students from the Sac State program had come to one of my intro classes and talked about school psychology, which is the first time I've ever heard about it. And I always kept it in the back of my mind. So after I graduated, I bounced around a little bit. I did some ABA therapy with kids with autism. I was a substitute teacher. I was a teaching assistant for a few years, and I just said, you know what, there are a lot of things I see that I would like to be able to, like, why are they doing this way, and why are the kids having to go this way when I think maybe they could go this way, but as an aide, you don't have a lot of say in that. So what I really like about school psychology is that it gives me the skill and opportunity to change that and do something about it. So I applied and I ended up here and I love it.
And I got my bachelor's from Sac State in child development, and I was a special ed teacher for 6 years. And I never wanted to stop at teaching, but I had my plan. I was going to be a program specialist in admin for special education. And I was talking to my school psychologist, and she's like, what do you know about school psychology? And I thought, well, no, I haven't. I kind of compared the two, looking at my school psychologist and my program specialist. And school psychologist still has student contact. He doesn't get the worst part of the job constantly with admin, get a lot of conflicting stuff. And so for me, I felt it was a better fit because I can still work with kids, but I'm at the level where I can create change. I really like the behavioral component and mental health, and then the kind of investigative, detective, what is going on with the student? Why is the student having so much trouble learning to read, or, and being able to help others understand that so that the student can, meet to what they could do to progress in school. And learn like all children can learn, and what do we need to do that? So I felt, as a research teacher, I kind of lacked some of the knowledge I needed, and so I'm really excited to impart that knowledge on future research teachers. So that's great.
And I did my undergraduate at Sac State in psychology, and I just graduated in spring 2014. I went into psychology thinking I would do counseling, so probably MFT or some form of therapy, but I wasn't really too convinced that that's what I wanted to completely focus on. And I was really drawn to schools, and I hadn't really considered teaching, but because I knew I didn't really want to teach. So I liked school settings, and I liked, working with students who are having difficulties with schools. I also did a little bit of ABA home therapy. And so I actually didn't know what school psychology was. I didn't know. I thought it was similar to school counselor until I was in the prospects program here at Sac State. I know some of you know that, in the psych department. And they actually, that's where I learned about school psychology. And then I thought it was perfect because it combined, psychology and counseling with the school setting. It was perfect.
I started off pre-law in undergrad. And then I took a psychology elective because it fit my schedule, and then I went the psychology route and switched my major. And then I worked in a group home. I worked in an elementary school as a paraeducator. I did ABA therapy and a couple other things. And one thing that I really liked a lot about the school psychology profession is that it has some of that legal aspect because you're dealing with the special education eligibility. It has the psychology aspect. You're doing mental health kind of stuff in the field. You're getting to work, like I worked in the group home, so you get to work with social workers and different mental health professionals. I recently just sat in an IEP where we had both the legal aspect, because we had the program specialists there and lawyers, and we had SELPA there. And then we also had the community aspect. We had the CASA, the case supervisor for CASA, and then we had the social workers there and the foster parents. And so it's a great opportunity to do so many different things, and it offers a lot of flexibility. The other thing is long-term and thinking about having a family. If you can work a school schedule, and you can be home with your kids during summer, and you can be home during winter break, and that's guaranteed. So it has a lot of different avenues, a lot of different hats that you're balancing in the field daily. You're working with a variety of different people, and it has a lot of flexibility for your personal life too.
No, Amanda, you mentioned that.
Well, mine's, just a little bit different. I started in fashion marketing, studied textiles at UC Davis, so very different. I was a sales manager for a few years, and I noticed my favorite part of my job was advocating for my associates instead of pushing the sales. So I started tutoring part-time and liked working with the kids more than I did the sales. So I started working with students with autism through an ABA program like a lot of other people. My sister's a school psychologist, talked to her a lot about the things that drew me to the job. And it was really about helping people and figuring out how to make their daily lives better, and specifically kids. I love working with kids. So that's really what drew me to the program. It's interesting how your life can go a completely different direction, but this program is really supportive in fostering what you want to do with it. So I've been able to have different opportunities, like being, co-president with Kelly over there, which is really exciting. Getting to do proposals at NASP, things like that are really exciting, and you get to do it about things you're passionate about. So like working with kids with emotional disturbance, that's my passion. Working with students that are ESL, that's another one of my passions. You really get to build on what you want. And the program really helps with that, and teachers and professors really help with that. So I really suggest the program. I love it.
Any other questions? That concludes. Again, my email address is attached to the flyer, so if you do have questions later, feel free to email me and contact me, and I can either help answer or point you in the right direction. And just wanted to thank you guys for coming out tonight.
Thank you.